Hey everybody, I'm Jack, and this is Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me today. Hope everybody's week is off to a good start. My weekend weather has continued here. I've been working for the past 3 or 4 hours getting stuff done. Well, maybe not that long, maybe like the past couple of hours, but got at it early this morning. Focused this week, very focused this week. I'm going to double down on things. If I'm stuck here in Babylon, I'm going to make the most out of it. Today I want to talk about raw food diet foodies and why they may not be the best examples for us. I do videos every day, so if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, start the week off and hit that subscribe button right now. Then click on the little bell and check send notifications so you'll stay subscribed to the channel. Sometimes YouTube just mysteriously unsubscribes people from various channels. Who? So, I'm always on Instagram. I'm constantly scrolling through. I'm constantly playing with hashtags, watching hashtags, anywhere in this raw vegan thing and the vegan thing and plant-based. I look at a lot of different hashtags. And one thing I've noticed, especially what shows up at that top, at the very, very top, is always the most popular. All the images that I see the most that come up are stuff like foodies. It's all the foodies. And now I don't want anybody to get their nose bit out of joint today at the foodie thing. I've got a lot of foodies in the not plant-based world, and I've noticed things about foodies in general over the years. But we're going to talk about the specifics of what I noticed when with the raw vegan foodies, with the raw foodist that I would kind of classify as foodies. Foodies are those people, like I've always just kind of defined foodies. I don't know its proper definition, as people that basically see food as a hobby. My mother always had the cooking channel here on in the house, and I noticed things about that. But in my feed, if you notice this, go in and look at, I wish I can start doing that one. I'm setting up the new phone today, I promise. And then I can go in and look. If you look at certain hashtags like raw vegan, raw vegans of Instagram, raw vegan recipes, certain hashtags, and you go in there, and usually you'll have those nine photos, I believe, that are your top ones, that are the big boys. All of those are almost always going to be some, and they look fabulous. And I'm not saying, hey, not throwing any shade on any of this. There's a point to it. And all of it are these desserts. All of them are these like next level desserts that you're just drooling over, going like, wow. They're the ones that are like, wow, can you really believe this is not cooked? This is fully raw and this is fully plant-based. And it's so full of nuts and fat generally. Still nothing wrong with that. There's a place down here on the Gulf Coast called Raw and Juicy. I hope, since it looks like I'm going to be around here this summer, I'm going to be making it down there again, hopefully more than once. And they have some beautiful desserts down there, man. I enjoyed them when I was there. Just not a day-to-day thing, because I'm talking about like what you might be eating a piece of pie, you might be eating this cake, and yes, it is plant-based, and yes, it has covered all the rules of the holy raw, below the temperature, everything. But you don't want to know the amount of fat in that thing. You really don't. And it's not always just the desserts. It's a lot of different dishes. It's a lot of these mocks. And I do mocks myself when we try to do mock lasagnas, mock this and that. A lot of the way we're mocking those things and recreating them is with nuts. And it's with less than the purest of pure ingredients. Now, once again, that's not to say don't have them in your repertoire. That's not to say don't like this stuff is like bad. Don't do it. But it's not something for your regular consumption. This is more like for us raw vegans, this is our, I don't even like to use the word cheat day, because nothing I do is cheating, because I make a conscious decision. But if we're going to have time, splurge is a better word. If we're going to splurge on these things, let's just call it splurging, but we don't want to make a regular habit out of that. And the proliferation of the recipes. It's the never-ending recipes and the recipe books and what have you. And it's just kind of like, I see this parallel and it's supporting, but hey, people are going to have similar personality types You know, even though we eat, people are going to have different personality types within this raw vegan thing. You know, I get that. And foodies, there's people that are foodies. There's foodies out there. The reason I say that the foodie, now what I consider I have like, I guess I have a stereotypical foodie in my head. I've got a vision of what I'm talking about, whether it be just your regular foodie that we talk about as a foodie in general, or a foodie in our way of eating. Now on this food channel, I noticed some things. I noticed some things going back several years as I've progressed in this lifestyle and know more about nutrition and know more about eating real food. And I watch some of these people that my mom's watching because I'll pass back and forth. And one thing I noticed on the food channel, these people that have a show that are on year after year after year, you don't notice, like, there's never like this drastic change, but if you watch a lot of those people, they're a little heavier each year. Not enough to make, you know, like that huge, that where you're going to say, whoa, so-and-so's like put on a few pounds, but they gain a certain amount of weight every year, and they just have this little bit more worn down, more tired look every year because of what they're eating. You know, that foodie, that I got foodie friends, and I've got some. Oh, I won't get into a crossover with the club friends. I've got my foodie friends, and you know they just aren't quite as how do I say? They're not as hip looking a few years after they've been into their foodie lifestyle. They don't fit the club lifestyle and the club clothes anymore, because that's not how we're meant to eat. That's not how we're meant to eat. Well, we won't even get into the other side where people are, you know, still eating a standard American diet and are foodies. But the foodie way, that recipe lifestyle, that Instagram lifestyle, those fabulous photos, those fatty recipes, those recipes you're using a lot of nuts in, those recipes you're using a lot of, you know, chemicals in, products. I don't need a lot of ingredients in my products. That just doesn't work for me. And it's not going to work for me on a day-to-day basis. Now, once again, I want to keep this conversation light. I want you to understand that, once again, I'm not judging anybody, not throwing anything under the bus. And then you'll have some of the Puritans that would go totally 4 steps further than me and condemn that in any way, shape, or form. They would rail on and on, like they would never take a bite of that stuff. Oh, I'd never eat that stuff. And the purists let you know how pure they are. They'll tell you how, I never eat this, I never eat that. Do you ever notice how they just always have their list out there? They're constantly telling people what they eat and what they don't, like anybody cares. I'm not telling you that. Enjoy your food. You know, none of the vegan food is really off limits to me, 100%. Raw vegan food, never off limits, 100%. I like to think about this. I like to speculate sometimes. If I lived in La La Land, apparently LA is just the place, the mecca of raw veganism. I understand there's more raw vegan restaurants out there and just vegan restaurants in general than you can shake a stick at. So in a place like that, if you lived in a certain area, I could see the seduction. It's easy, you know, how you could slip into a restaurant or a little bistro for lunch here, dinner there, and it'd be a little bit harder. I don't think my mind would change. That would be, okay, granted, I don't have that option here, so I don't eat out hardly at all, except when I go to Pensacola, and that's cooked vegan. But, okay, let's say I lived in an LA. How would I probably do that? I'd probably go out and eat a couple or 3 times a week. I might go out and eat more times a week, but I would only have that real gourmet, next level type food maybe once a week. Probably not even that. And we're talking in degrees. If I went, you know, if we're talking something super heavy, super fat, lots of nuts or whatever, might only be once every couple of weeks. But where it all comes back around to is keeping this thing simple, eating simple, whole, plant-based foods. I mean, you know, I can't be happier than when I'm just rocking on the most simplest form. Yes, this weekend, I was almost back. I haven't been in a state of bliss in a while. in my location, but I was almost in a state of bliss with what I was eating, with the sunshine coming in, you know, mixing it up. I feel like I processed the fruit a lot better when I'm getting the vitamin D. But you get what I'm saying? Like, I was just, I mean, I'm vibrating on that simple feel. I would not have gotten that feel even if I was eating okay. Most people are going, well, what's wrong with this? I could have been eating, you know, heavier from a restaurant, even raw vegan food all weekend, and I wouldn't have had that same feel. Wouldn't have had that same feel. Would have been great for the planet, would have been great for the animals, would have been great for the environment, would have been better for me probably than that standard American diet, but it ain't eating mangoes, it's not drinking watermelon juice, it's not eating watermelon, it's not eating that straight up fruit and eating the greens. Look for yourself. Look for yourself. Look for yourself. And I'll just leave you with that. The foodies just don't have that glow. Look at your foodies. You might love them. They might be your sweetest people in the world. They just don't have that glow that basically the simple raw vegans do. So anyhow, your mileage may vary on that. Do the best you can, though. Just always keep it plant-based. Hope you guys enjoyed this one today. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Peace.